Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. We start today's video with a story that proves one timeless truth. When your boss demands speed over sense, don't be surprised when they sprint straight into disaster. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Supervisor demands faster work, ends up doing it all herself. I work at a big retail chain where the stockroom is the Wild West and chaos is the norm. We recently got a new supervisor, Sarah, who seems to think she's running the Navy SEALs or something. She's obsessed with speed, constantly on us about how we need to get things done faster. Doesn't matter if it's done right, as long as it's done fast. So one day during peak restock time, when we're drowning in boxes, Sarah storms in with her clipboard and her best "I'm in charge" face. She corners me while I'm halfway through a massive inventory check and says, "You're taking way too long with these, just get through them quickly. We don't have time to check every single item." I try to explain that rushing inventory checks is a bad idea, but she cuts me off with a condescending smile. "If you can't speed this up, maybe this job isn't the right fit for you," she says, all smug like she just dropped a bombshell. "All right, Sarah, you want speed? Let's see how fast things can spiral out of control." So I take her words to heart and decide to follow her instructions exactly. The next day, I'm scheduled for another inventory check. Instead of my usual process where I count everything carefully, I decide to play Sarah's game. I glance at the shelves and make up numbers that seem about right. I don't even bother opening boxes to check if what's inside matches the labels. I fly through the whole process, marking items off like I'm speed running a video game. What usually takes me 2 hours, I finish in just 20 minutes. Sarah sees me finish up, and I can see her eyes light up. She walks over, grinning ear to ear. "See, that wasn't so hard, was it? If you keep this up, you might even get a little bonus this month," she says, patting herself on the back for her brilliant leadership skills. Fast forward a week, and a store manager, Mike, calls an emergency meeting. The inventory reports have come back, and they're a total disaster. According to the report, we're missing thousands of dollars worth of products. It looks like we either lost half the stock or we're running some underground black market. Mike's pissed. Customers are complaining about out-of-stock items, and the regional manager is breathing down his neck. Mike turns to Sarah and asks her to explain how this could have happened. Sarah, trying to save face, immediately points at the team and says they must have messed up the counts. They weren't thorough enough. She's throwing us under the bus without a second thought. This is where I decide to strike. I raise my hand and say, "Actually, I did exactly what Sarah told us to do. She said to skip checking the items and just get it done as quickly as possible. I was just following orders." You could hear a pin drop. Mike slowly turns to Sarah, his expression going from confused to furious. "Is this true?" he asks, narrowing his eyes at her. Sarah's stammering now, trying to backtrack. "Well, I didn't mean to skip it entirely. I just meant to speed it up." But it's too late. The damage is done. Mike's already fuming. "So you decided to cut corners on the one thing that affects our bottom line? You do realize we have to do a full recount now because of this mess, right?" And that's exactly what happens. The next day, Sarah and a few unlucky team members spend 12 hours redoing the entire inventory check from scratch. The rest of us get to enjoy watching them sweat it out while we handle our regular duties. It's glorious. As they're counting, I make sure to walk by every so often and ask, "Need any help speeding things up? I could skip a few checks for you if that helps." The look on Sarah's face every time is pure rage mixed with embarrassment. She can't say anything because she knows I'm just doing what she asked for. By the end of it, we found thousands of dollars in discrepancies. Turns out rushing through inventory checks leaves a lot of room for error. Who knew? The regional manager isn't happy, and Sarah ends up getting a formal warning. She stops harping on us about speed after that, and even tries to be extra nice whenever I'm around. Guess she realized that maybe, just maybe, some tasks shouldn't be rushed. A couple of weeks later, I get a small bonus for outstanding attention to detail and helping fix the inventory mess. Oh, the irony. Sarah couldn't even look me in the eye when I got the bonus slip. And every time she walks by me now, I just give her a friendly smile and say, "Don't worry, boss, I'm working as fast as you want." Managers like Sarah have failed to realize that their ultimate goal is to have their subordinates cooperate with them in achieving their goals. If she had to resort to threatening an employee's position to coerce them into compliance with her instruction, she'd already failed. And our second story. Ex-colleague got me laid off. I made sure he stayed unemployed a bit longer. So I worked in a technical support team based at a client site late in the 90s. One of my colleagues, bit of a jerk, didn't like sharing information, left our company and went to work directly for the client. Okay, it happens. Some months later, I had an interview to also work for the client. I absolutely killed the interviews, whole day of various tasks with a dozen people, until it got to the final interview that this ex-colleague was also asking questions. I found out later that I did not get the job because ex-colleague had said I asked too many questions at work. Well, duh, yes, I'm going to ask questions about specific issues if I know you know the answer instead of guessing. Anyway, some months later, it was early December, everyone turned up at the site as normal, only to be called into a meeting with our boss, who must have flown in that morning, and the main client manager. Within 10 minutes, we were escorted to our desks to collect personal belongings and escorted off-site, made redundant on the spot. It seems our colleague had managed to cause enough issues and blame his old colleagues that the client, his new boss, canceled our support contract. It took me 3 months to get a new job, and I had to work and live away from home during the week. A few months into this job, I saw the ex-colleague go into my manager's office. I wanted to punch him there and then. But anyway, I waited until he was leaving and made sure to pass him and throw a quick hi as he was leaving. Pikachu face describes it perfectly, even if it wasn't a thing back then. After he left, I went into my manager's office and said he confirmed he was interviewing him. I asked if he asked ex-colleague on why he left previous job. He said no. Yeah, this boss was not too bright. As it happens, I knew why ex-colleague was sacked not long after the rest of us were made redundant, taking his secretary away on conferences, training courses, etc. that she had no business being at. Yes, he was married. So in the end, ex-colleague was not offered a role at the company. In the end, I left the company after 6 months so I could work closer and be home every night. I will always be grateful to that company for giving me the opportunity to get one over a guy who had got me made redundant. Since I cost him financial hardship for a while longer as he did not get the job, I'm not so sure how petty this was, but made me happy anyway. And our last story. HOA said my dad's hidden boat violated rules because Karen trespassed to find it. My dad lived in a quiet neighborhood tucked into a golf course community in St. Augustine, Florida. It was one of those retirement-heavy areas, the kind with winding cul-de-sacs, meticulously landscaped yards, and people who wave as they walk by, even if they don't like you. The HOA there was fairly relaxed, at least on paper. They didn't usually come knocking unless someone stirred the pot, and unfortunately for us, someone always stirred the pot. Enter Karen. You know the type, retired, no hobbies besides nosiness, and just enough free time and self-importance to become the unofficial neighborhood watchdog. She'd power walk through the neighborhood every day, same route, same grim expression, armed with a notepad and, I'm convinced, a mental list of HOA bylaws memorized better than the board itself. Karen's whole retirement mission seemed to be reporting things. Not violations, mind you, just things she personally found distasteful. Mailboxes with chipped paint, flower beds that weren't symmetrical enough, outdoor furniture that didn't match the aesthetic. And of course, every complaint she filed forced the HOA to investigate, no matter how ridiculous. Most folks ignored her, but occasionally she'd stir up enough of a fuss that the HOA felt obligated to follow up just to shut her up. One day, she found her golden ticket, my dad's boat. Now, my dad's not some yacht-owning marina kingpin. He had a small bass boat on a compact trailer. Nothing fancy, nothing flashy. He and his buddy liked to go fishing on the weekends, and since his friend lived in a condo without the space, the boat got stored in my dad's backyard. Not the front yard, not the side yard, the backyard, tucked neatly behind a privacy fence, out of sight unless you had the curiosity of a cat and the sneakiness of a raccoon, which unfortunately Karen did. Apparently not satisfied with passive peeking through fence slats, she decided to get a better view. She climbed partway up the fence, peered over, spotted the boat, and like a storm siren, sprinted, or tried to, back to report her find. But Karma had plans. As she turned to hop down, she lost her balance, tumbled back onto the lawn, and snapped her leg. It was one of those moments you feel bad about for almost a second before a little voice in your head says, "Yeah, that tracks." We didn't even know it happened until a neighbor mentioned seeing the ambulance pull up. Then came the HOA letter. Despite the absurd way she discovered the boat, seriously, who climbs a neighbor's fence at 70-something? The HOA declared the boat a violation, even though it wasn't visible from the road, even though it was behind a 6-foot privacy fence, even though she had literally trespassed to find it. None of that mattered. Rules were rules, they said, and while they admitted Karen's actions were unorthodox, they still insisted the boat had to go. So my dad complied. He wasn't happy, but he didn't want to rack up fines or turn the boat thing into a legal headache. He moved the boat to a storage lot about 15 minutes away. Every fishing trip from then on involved a little extra effort and a reminder of just how ridiculous some HOA drama can get. As for Karen, she got to limp around the neighborhood for the next couple of months in a cast and a surgical boot, parading her injury like a badge of honor. She even told anyone who asked that she hurt herself checking on a code violation. No shame. Zero. If anything, she seemed proud of herself. Her little incident ended up backfiring in the long run. Word got around about her spying antics, and more neighbors began to complain about her. One guy actually installed taller shrubs to block her view. Another caught her on a security camera snooping too close to his backyard and threatened to call the police. The HOA even quietly added a rule about respecting personal boundaries. Not naming names, of course, but everyone knew who it was aimed at. Karen still walks the neighborhood, but she's toned it down since. Less clipboard, more cane. She still gives us the occasional side eye if she passes by when I'm visiting, but these days it's a lot less intense. Maybe the fall humbled her a little, or maybe she's just biding her time until the next boat gets parked behind a fence. Either way, we learned a valuable lesson. In HOA land, you're never truly safe from someone with too much time, a grudge, and a graying ponytail. But if you're lucky, karma might just be perched on your fence, ready to trip them up. Oh, this story is the kind of HOA drama that makes you wonder if the bylaws were written by nosy neighbors for nosy neighbors. The fact that your dad's boat was hidden, peaceful, and harming no one, and yet still got ratted out, just proves that some people aren't satisfied until they've inserted themselves where they absolutely do not belong. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.